the fairly current show.
Pop TV.
Hi Selvi, welcome to the Fairly Current Show.
Thank you.
We're here to talk about child abuse, which is a perennial problem. It's of late. I mean, you were telling me just now before we started that the number of child abuse cases has increased. What kind of statistics do you have for us?
Well, from the statistics we got from the Department of Social Welfare, in 2008 there were reportedly 2,780 cases of child abuse in Malaysia. So from 2006 to 2008 there were 700 cases, increasing 700 cases,
right,
which makes it about average of 7 cases each day.
Wow!
So it's quite an increase, but these are only reported cases, which, as you know, reported cases are most serious cases, and they just represent the tip of the iceberg.
And are we talking about, when we talk about child abuse, I think for many people, we don't really know what we are talking about in a way, you know. Who are children? What do you mean by abuse?
Right.
Can you just share with us?
Sure. A child, as defined by the Child Act 2001, is someone below the age of 18. This is also the same definition provided by the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And child abuse itself encompasses physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, as well as emotional abuse.
Mm-hmm. Does the Child Act, does it include also children who are not Malaysians but residing in Malaysia?
Yes, it covers all children living in Malaysia.
Okay, currently, irrespective of what their nationality.
Yes.
Okay. Now, on top of that, I was going to talk about something specific, but then I remember that we shouldn't talk about certain cases that are in court right now. Tell us a little bit more. How is it that people can be more sensitive about child abuse?
I think, firstly, people need to know and learn more about what child abuse is. Learn about the signs and symptoms of child abuse. Learn about what they can do as an individual or a community or even the corporate sector. What can they do to spread information about child abuse? And once you find out more information about child abuse and you hear of a case or you know a child is being abused or at risk of harm, know where to go for to call for help. And that's where, for example, over last weekend, Childline Malaysia was launched. It's a 15999 hotline number. It's manned by trained professionals who are able to handle calls from children. So children who need help can call Childline Malaysia.
So how many different ways can someone report child abuse right now? They can go to the police?
Yes, they can go to the police. They can also go to the Department of Social Welfare. They can call Telenor 15999 as well to report cases of child abuse.
Mm-hmm. And we said earlier that for every report or every child abuse case that gets reported, there are also numerous that don't get reported.
Yes.
And why do you think this happens?
I think a lot of it happens because people just don't know where to go to report, or people are afraid that if they report, there'll be repercussions for them. But anyone who reports, I just want to emphasize that their names are kept confidential. In fact, in the Child Act as well, Section 116 specifically states that any informer, their names will be kept confidential. There's no risk to them. So people should learn more about what child abuse is and take action. Don't leave it just to the government. It's not just the government's responsibility, but it's also your responsibility to learn more and to also act and respond to cases of child abuse. I think what's important is also prevention.
Do you think there's this culture about in Malaysia, people say jangan jaga tepi kain orang, like don't snoop around lah, this is my house, this is how I want to teach my kids,
Yeah, I think as I mentioned to you earlier before we got on the show, that UNICEF is running a campaign, the Get On Board campaign, to stop child abuse. And one of the campaign's objective is telling people, be a busybody, get involved, Malaysians are really busybodies. We want them to also be a busybody when it comes to child abuse. Listen, hear out, if you hear of a child crying endlessly and you don't know what's wrong, don't feel afraid to go and call 15999. Find out what's going on in your community.
I think for some people, like sometimes in my house, I hear the child next door just like, and then I hear the father, oi, don't. So could that be interpreted as some kind of child abuse?
It may be, but not necessarily so.
Okay.
if you hear persistent crying or if you're not sure, the best thing to do is just call either the police or
Someone
social
will come
welfare.
and
Yes,
investigate.
you know, you don't have to give your name.
Okay.
So just be rather be cautious than just ignore it completely.
So what can people do? You know, what is tell us a bit more about the Get On Board.
Okay, the Get On Board campaign, which is launched by UNICEF on October 6th. It's a digitally driven campaign. So we have a website, www.uniteagainst.abuse.my, where there's a lot of information about child abuse, what it is, what are the signs and symptoms of child abuse, what does it say in the Child Act about child abuse, what actions you can take. You know, you can learn more about child abuse. You can also find out what you can do. For example, if a child comes to you, how to react to a child who wants to talk about child abuse. You can also take parenting skill classes. For example, the National Population and Family Development Board of Malaysia has parenting classes, has counseling classes. So you can enroll yourself for those classes. Be a better parent, you know. That's what we want to encourage people. Prevention is better, obviously, than the cure in this kind of cases. Because when it comes to someone who's already had incidents of abuse, it has long-term effects.
Okay.
So it's better to prevent child abuse from happening in the first place.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And here's to a very successful campaign. And so may more Malaysians become more sensitive towards incidences of child abuse.
Yes.
And maybe there be less child abuse in the future.
Yes. Get on board.